All right, and to join us more on this news story, I'm now joined in by Ira Trivedi, the author and columnist, who joins us live from New Delhi. Let's quickly go across to Ira. Ira, a very warm welcome to you here on Wion. It's indeed a historic judgment, you know. This is what the judgment had to say, that patriarchy in religion cannot be allowed to trump the right to pray. Your take on this historic verdict?
Absolutely. I think that for centuries past we have had a patriarchal nation, but I do think that times are changing. Just in the past few weeks we've had historic judgments, whether it's 377, whether it's adultery laws, and today's Sabarimala. So I do think that we're on a very positive track. I'm delighted to see these sort of changes. Religion has always been linked to patriarchy, and especially in the South. There's a lot of archaic laws regarding women and menstruation which are not applicable anymore. So the reason why menstruating women were banned from going into temples wasn't because of their quote-unquote impurity. It was mostly because during menstruation the society wanted to give women a break, because they were often working quite hard and going to the temple was a daily job. They would often have to walk a few kilometers to even go to the temple. So in those days, they said women didn't have to go to the temple, they could rest at home, not have to walk the few kilometers to the temple, and that's the way that it was. But in this day and age, all those circumstances have changed. In modern times, you know, a woman can easily take a public transportation or a private transportation to the temple. It's often a place of peace, it's a place of mental calm, and these temples are paid from they're paid by from the taxpayer's pocket. You know, they're really, or at least the outsides of the temples have been. So I do think that women should be allowed to go to temples. It doesn't matter what. In fact, I think for sometimes during menstruation, women need it more. They need it's sometimes a stressful time for women. They get sort of emotional during that time, and it's good to actually have a sanctuary for them to go to. So I do think that a place of worship is meant for particular reasons to get sort of emotional, mental, physical balance, and I do think that that this law will allow the temples to serve the sort of purpose that they're built for in the first place.
Right. Ira, also interestingly enough, you know, in this Sabarimala verdict, which is a landmark verdict, Justice Indu Malhotra, being a woman judge over there, Justice Indu Malhotra she was the voice of dissent. This is what she had to say, and let me quote her, that the notions of rationality cannot be brought into matters of religion. At the same time, we've also been in touch with our correspondent from Kerala. She's been getting us reports from Ground Zero, and this is what she had to say, that, you know, how the verdict actually boils down to the masses is very important, because the women in Kerala are still skeptical of paying their obeisance at the temple. So, Ira, you know, it's very important to discuss how women interpret these patriarchal norms themselves. So how, as I just quoted this voice of dissent that's coming in from a female justice herself, and I just also mentioned the other masses, that women in Kerala themselves are very skeptical. How do you interpret the scenario overall?
Well, I do think that there is no rationality behind such laws. So when women actually understand the rationality themselves and then make men understand them, then it calls for a rational decision. You know, often both women and men are completely plagued by superstition. I'll give you a story. I was in Kerala, and as you know, I teach and practice a lot of yoga. And I was in Kerala at my ashram, and there's a temple there. Every evening in the temple, there's a Devi Puja. And, there was a woman there who was actually, there's an Ayurvedic massage center. And during Ayurvedic massages, women are not meant to be, menstruating women are not meant to get massages, not because of any cultural reasons, but because a lot of therapeutic massages. So during menstruation you don't do them. So she knew I had my period, and she was at the temple, and I was going into the temple, and she stopped me. She said, "You can't enter the temple." You know, this was one woman to another woman saying, no, you have your period, you can't come in. So I do think that, and I was a little surprised. I can understand why a man may say that, but a woman to another woman. But then I realized at that moment in time that these superstitions, they really sank down into the subconscious, you know. But when women are made to understand that, listen, the temple, the reason why these laws were once formed was for this particular reason, but they aren't applicable anymore. And a period, it doesn't make you impure at all. So I do believe that women themselves begin to think that they're impure because they've been told that since they were little girls.
Absolutely. Completely agree with you, Ira, that
many taboos regarding menstruation.
It's important to break those taboos and actually...
Just one second. I just want to... Yes.
No, please carry on. Finish your point.
Every woman goes through menstruation. Yes. Every woman goes through menstruation. It's a natural process of the body, like digestion, like respiration, like circulation. So therefore, there's nothing taboo about it. In fact, because we keep it taboo, there's so many problems that women go through because they refuse to talk about it and they're embarrassed about it. It makes no sense to me. So I really do think that, yes, this does also break down religious superstition, laws like, you know, when the Sabarimala temple verdict does allow for that. But also in the larger scheme of things, it brings forward the issue that, hey, listen, menstruation is not something bad. Start talking about it.
Absolutely.
You know? So I do think
completely agree with you, Ira, that in the larger scheme of things, it's important to address, you know, the whole, the superstitions actually lie at the center of things. And now this verdict actually hopes to strike down these two superstitions and also these patriarchal norms. And clearly, this has been a turning point, and it will also have implications on how religious institutions work in the country. Thank you so much, Ira Trivedi, for joining us here on Wion.